You're watching BCTV. We're all about Branford. You're watching BCTV, Branford Government Television, a service of Branford Community Television. This program is brought to you in part through the support of the town of Branford.
Welcome to the Branford Planning and Zoning Commission. This meeting is being held on July 20th, 2023. My name is Fred Russo. I am a member of the P&Z Commission, and I am substituting for our chairman, Chuck Andrews, this evening. I'd like to introduce our P&Z commissioners, or members of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and ask each of them to acknowledge their presence as their name is called. Joe Viuzzo.
Joe Viuzzo's here.
Joe Chadwick.
Joe Chadwick is present.
Marcy Pelusi.
Marcy's here.
Massimo Ligori.
Massimo's here.
Harry, I think Sharon said she's not going to be here today. I think I'm correct in that?
Yes, I have a note to that effect also, yes.
Okay, and Fred Russo, I'm here as well. I'd like to also introduce our Planning and Zoning Office staff. We have our town planner, Harry Smith.
I am here.
Our assistant town planner, Evan Reining.
Here.
And our recording secretary, Michelle Martin, who is taking notes at a remote location. I'd like to go over just briefly the meeting format that we follow. The format is this. One, the applicant goes first, presents relevant information concerning your application. Second, staff report will be read by members of the Planning and Zoning Office in reference to the application. 3, commissioners will be asked for their commentary concerning the application. 4, will ask for public commentary if there is any. And the applicant is allowed to respond to any question raised during the public hearing. Once all the testimony is given, the public hearing can either be concluded or possibly continued for a number of reasons. That decision is generally made after the commissioners deliberate on an application. I would ask Harry if you'd be kind enough to read the notice of public hearings.
Harry, you're muted.
Come on, I was halfway through. Legal notice, Town of Branford. The Planning and Zoning Commission of the Town of Branford, Connecticut, hereby gives notice of public hearings to be held on Thursday, July 20, 2023 at 7 o'clock p.m. by remote technology to consider the applications listed below. Information regarding how to participate in the public hearings will be provided on the Commission's meeting agenda that will be posted on the town's website at least 24 hours prior to the meeting. Number 1, application number 23-6.2. Special exception for a building addition and parking modification located at 31-33 Business Park Drive, Business Park Realty LLC, care of Al Secadino, applicant and owner. At said hearings, all persons will have the right to be heard. Copies are on file in the Planning and Zoning Commission's office, the Planning and Zoning Department, 1019 Main Street, Branford, Connecticut, 06405. Written communications may be sent to the above address or to planning and zoning at branford-ct.gov. Branford Planning and Zoning Commission, C. Andres, chairperson.
Thank you, Harry. I would ask Evan if he would discuss for the general public how they can act and participate on the Zoom meeting.
Sure. So during the public hearing, when Fred prompts, anyone who would like to make any comments or ask any questions, down at the bottom of your screen, there is a reactions button. You can select that. Gives you the option to raise your hand. Please do so. You can also type in the chat that you'd like to speak, or just wave your hand in front of the camera. I'll try to catch you. If you're dialing in by phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand. And we ask that everyone please state their name at the beginning of their comment or question.
Thank you, Evan. I just want to make a final check with Harry. Harry, there's no other changes to our agenda We're good.
We did receive a referral from the first selectman, James Cosgrove, regarding the above ground fueling facility at the Branford Fire Headquarters, 3949 North Main Street. So I would suggest, it's an 824 referral. I would suggest adding this to the agenda under new business. And we could possibly, if you're so inclined, take it out of order and consider it with the special exception application for the fueling
So
facility.
right now, it's listed as a public hearing, correct?
Yes,
And
right.
where do you want it in the agenda?
I would suggest adding it under new business, and then when we get to the end of the public hearing for the fueling facility, you could take that new business item out of order so that anybody here, I think there's some town staff here to talk about the fueling facility. That way they can also talk about the 824 referral and be most efficient for them if you're willing to do that.
Okay, I think I know what you're saying, but if I don't, and I'm out of order, then please correct me.
Yeah.
I think we're ready to hear our first applicant. And that would be Joseph Tamaro, applicant and owner, 245, formerly lot between 233 and 249 East Main Street. Special exception modification, multi-unit residential building. Application number 23-4.4. So I guess, Mr. Tamaro, if you're ready and prepared, we're ready.
Jim Preddy, Criscolo Engineering here at 420 East Main Street in Branford. I'm representing Joe Tamaro. Just so everybody understands, when this was originally approved, there was no address assigned yet by the assessor. That's why the 233 to 249 business is there, but it has since been assigned 245. So
Okay.
it's not a different address, just by way of clarification. We had submitted this a while back for some changes to the front entry area. During the course of this project, when this was originally approved, there was a different architect involved, and then when we had to get to building permit level, they had to hire a new architect, and so there was some minor changes to the access in the front. The building generally stayed the same, but it did involve a little more fill in the front, and we'll change the grading, so that's why we're here. I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully you can see that. This was the original plan. There was, let's zoom in here close. There was this concrete walk and a series of steps and some terraced walls here. Some planter walls that included some little terrace areas for a couple of the units in the front. Let's see. This was the elevation that was part of that package. There was all these kind of stone wall things going on here. It's hard to see in here, but there was a break in here to get to that stair. So like I said, during the course of the project, the architects changed what we'd like to do, or what is being proposed. Is slightly different, and some of this came with the back and forth through the building department and the architect, but they changed the entry away a little bit. There will still be a little outdoor space in the way of patios, but for those two units, but that wall with the stone facing is not there anymore, but we did add a little more fill so that the front of the building is still, the lower level is still more or less hidden for the same extent that it was before. When we had submitted this, Harry noted that there were some discrepancies in the number of plants and planting on the landscape plan, which I did have. I apologize for the scanned copy of this, but this was the copy Larry Appleton had done, revised and signed. I believe now that the plants have all been changed to plants from the native planting list, and does coordinate with the numbers on our plant list as far as quantities. There was some slight changes, but more or less the intent was kept with planting that slope hill area there to kind of to soften it and sort of hide it somewhat. Still the plantings along the edge. There are some trees that have survived the activities there, so he did note which ones will be staying along the sides, including some in back here, and I think he added another tree or a couple back here. Let's see. One of the other things, I'm going to go back to the original plan. One of the other things that was approved as part of this was this sidewalk that dead ends over here at the river as a viewing area. When this had gone to DOT, they commented about not doing that there in the drainage right of way that they currently own for any water running off this area of the road that gets into the river. We have since sorted that out with them. What we're going to do, and I think it actually works out better, but what we're going to do is continue the walk to the back of the wing wall. There'll be a little fence there, and we'll still put the bench kind of tucked in there. But I actually think this provides a cleaner view up the waterway here. It won't be so obstructed by the vegetation. And what we're doing is putting this sort of I'll call it a scupper, but it's a way for the water to get under the sidewalk with a ADA rated grate over the top. There is a detail right here that was part of the resubmittal that kind of shows how that'll bridge over that. It's just I don't think much water travels that way, but it's just a way for not to impede any water that does go that way. That we did send that back to DOT. Their new drainage engineer, Alan Dodge, had accepted this method, so we sorted that out with them. I think the other thing was there was building mounted lighting that was being added, but I will tell you that the fixtures are all under 900 lumens, and they will be 3000 K. But we didn't, because they're under 900 lumens, we didn't have the photometric plan changed. However, we did note the locations on the building on this plan, and we put the spec sheet for the light on here. I think that was it. For the changes. And I could take questions or go back to any plans or elevations or whatever the commission would like.
Jim, do you have anybody beside yourself who was speaking to this application tonight?
So Joe tomorrow is also on here, but I think he was having trouble with the audio. I don't know if he sorted that out.
Harry Smith, Town Planner. I did make him a co-host just in case he wanted to present something.
Yeah, how you doing, guys?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, he's got to sort it out first.
You have any
Okay.
questions? I'm here.
You're welcome to speak.
I really don't have much to say. This is the new plan for the front, and I just want to thank everyone.
Thank you. Jim, is that it? Do you have any more?
No, I think I've covered everything that's.
Okay, because then I'm going to ask for any of our staff report from Harry and or Evan.
Harry Smith, Town Planner. So I did this, in conjunction with other folks back when it was approved, and have looked at the new application. We did get these new plans, and this is a revised version of what was originally submitted back a month or so ago. We just got them this past Monday. So there are a lot of other things going on in the office here, and I really, frankly, did not get to it till this afternoon. So I do not have a revised write-up of my staff report or even a recommendation really at this point. Just before, so I don't forget, the commission, we did have a tentative meeting set up for next Thursday. So I would recommend that once we go through this, that either the hearing be continued just in case the applicant or Jim Peretti wants to say anything or respond to whatever recommendation I have. But at least the vote on it be delayed until next Thursday so I can give you a staff recommendation. That being said, I just touch on a couple of things that Jim mentioned. And I mean, the elevations to me, this is not in one of the design review areas. So there's a general town-wide design kind of guideline, but I don't think this really speaks to some of that either way, either original or the current new proposal for the elevation change. So, the massing, it's broken up a bit. I mean, there's different architectural details there. I'll leave that perhaps to other members of the commission to comment on. The retaining wall removal, now with the change in the landscaping, that seems to be just two different approaches to the issue and getting folks up to the grade of the first floor to get in the front door. So, I mean, this works, I think, as well as the other way and does remove a lot of, imagine it'd be a lot less expensive to do this right. One thing I think it did not get mentioned is I did request my original staff report, a path connecting the access path from the front door to the parking lot to continue down along the driveway to the sidewalk. So that's great. That's on the plan now. Yep. And I saw there's a little piece of sidewalk going to the west to connect to the adjoining property.
Along the other side there so that it actually runs into where the apron is on the other side. So it's kind of continuous paved access.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. I think that tees it up nicely to eventually there's only one property that doesn't have a sidewalk in front of it. And then you've got continuous sidewalk all the way down to the town center. So that's great. I mentioned the landscaping. I haven't really looked at that in any detail. If it's natives, I'll just double check that. And the lighting, likewise with that. So that brings us down to the coastal access. And just going back to when this project was first approved, we did refer it up to DEP, and they, in their comments, did note that the best public access would be a pathway. And I'm going to pull up my map here just so we can refer to something. So you should be able to see, I blew up sort of the corner of the plan. So down here, this is the pathway that was discussed, and as Jim Purdy noted, the revised sort of viewing area. DEP was talking about a pathway all the way down here to some degree. And the compromise reach was this area here back in the approval a few years ago. Is there a reason why that can't be done? Is that because of the easement, Jim?
Yeah, Jim Preddy again, Mike, back and forth with the DOT drainage engineer. This was the way that they preferred it because it gets past the sidewalk quicker and then it just goes on its way. I will tell you that where this edge of the wetland is along this area here is rather steep, and then there's vegetation there. So quite honestly, where it was this time of year, you wouldn't really get to view anything. I think where we have it now, there is actually some viewing opportunities. Unless we took vegetation down from the other place, which never seems to be popular. So,
yeah, I mean, some of it I think is Phragmites, but I did go out when I went out there this afternoon and took a couple of pictures and see if I can put them up just so everyone can see what we're talking about. I think I have to stop share and reshare. Get this. So can everyone see this? Should be a photo here. And this is sort of a close-up of the area we're talking about. I think that's an existing piece of the fence on the concrete wall, the abutment.
Yeah.
And that's some piping going over the water body. This is the guardrail. So this is a little, you can see the view. So there is sort of a view here. It's nice. This is some of the vegetation I think we're talking about, right? As soon as you get a few feet off the guardrail, this is what you got. And then it's denser as you go down along the the water body. And it's a little pulled back so you can see it here even
Yeah, you
better.
can see to the right on that picture, the farther you get off the guardrail, the thicker it is.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, whether, that's with the frag monies removed, I don't know. I mean, you are right up in the guardrail here, and, Route 1 is right here. So you got 2 lanes of traffic. I went out there, I'm taking pictures, and it's not the ideal bucolic natural experience, but I mean, this is pretty much what the commission signed up for originally anyway. So,
Yeah, keep
whether
in
this can be
mind,
tweaked around to keep it, make it a little more, I don't know, but I know you've had to discuss the whole thing with DOT and arrived at an agreement that, you have to go back and renegotiate, I would imagine.
yeah, Harry, also jump right again. Keep in mind that I mean, we're actually not up against the back of the guardrail. We're about 5 feet off because it's on Joe's property. It's not in the right of way.
All right, so it's right here
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah.
That's a little better. Yeah, I just looked on the plan, like it was pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that does help. I don't know what you really, but I mean, in terms of the view, I mean, is it going down gradient a bit from the level right near the guardrail, or is it going to be sort of graded up a little?
Well, it'll.
Because you got to get down near the wall, right? You're going down to that level, top of the wall.
You'll be going kind of with the top of the wall.
So you'd be down maybe a few feet, right?
No, I mean, I think it'll have to get graded up a little bit to meet. I think the top of the wall kind of goes straight across with that where that fence is there, right?
Right here. All right.
Yeah. So the sidewalk will have to get thickened at that area to kind of make it.
Yeah. Work. Yeah, I didn't take a shot from that side. I think the wall goes down a bit once the portion with the fence on it. Once you go beyond that, it seems to drop down. Is my recollection, but so I don't know what you're going to see, and then there's going to be basically viewing it through a section of chain link fence you're going to be adding. Is that right?
Well, we have to put something there for fall protection, but yeah.
So, I opinion of staff, I certainly not a robust coastal public access provision. Is it a whole lot different than what was approved a few years ago? Probably not that much different, but to get a view would be nice if some of these frag monies could come out of there. I know DEPs. I met with Kevin Savoy from DEP this morning on another project, and they are perfectly fine with frag monies being pulled, even if you're in the coastal, the area of waterward of the coastal jurisdiction line, or you're in a tidal wetland. So I think that could be pulled out. I know they kind of come right back to some degree, but that seems to be, and that looks like frag monies to me, but I'm not a biologist by any means. But, if that view could be opened up a little bit, I think that would certainly help. Even a couple things behind it to give a little, if there's 5 feet here, whether you can put a couple of something. I know it's on the DOT right away and they can take it out whenever they want, but at least they'll give a little bit of visual barrier behind the bench. So I'll leave it there and see what the commissioners think. But basically, I mean, I don't have any major problem with the changes. I'll just have to go through the details. Come back to you.
Would we like to find out what the commissioners are thinking?
I'd love to find out.
Okay, so we're going to ask commissioners now, what are your comments, if any? One more time, any commissioner who would like to speak to the application, please speak now. Identify yourself.
Yeah, hi, Fred. This is Massimo. How are you guys tonight? I'd like to comment a little bit on this. I mean, I think that the changes that are being made, although may apply to certain regulations that we currently have, but aesthetically, the changes that are being made are, sort of not aesthetically appealing the design of anything that would be slightly appealing to the eye and got rid of it. It looks like it's kind of an eyesore looking at the design that they're about to do there. And I just, for me, it's right out in the open. And I think, aesthetically, I like the prior design with the wall and I love the idea of what Harry said. So the residents that do live there have something to look at besides the main road in front of them. And there's really no yard or anything. So to have a little something aesthetically for the people who do live there, I think Harry had a good idea with, taking down some of those weeds. That's just how I feel about it. And I kind of like the other design a lot better aesthetically and for the town of Branford and the way that looks. I think it keeps a certain standard. Thank you.
Thank you, Massimo. Is there any other commissioners who want to speak to the application?
Joe Chadwick, I just got myself unmuted. I just hope this doesn't set a precedence of bait and switch, where someone comes in with one application and then prior to closing out comes in with a cheaper solution. The original design wasn't like all that great, and this is a whole lot less than great. I understand there may be extenuating circumstances, and it's not the commission's place to get into arguing aesthetics, but we did agree on one set of design ethic, and then we're asked to approve another set of design ethic on the back end. If we do this once, will we have to do it over and over and over again? I'm leaving that there as a rhetorical question.
Joe, thank you. Are there any other commissioners that would like to comment? If not, then is there anybody from the public who would like to make a comment? Anybody from the public? Evan, can you just remind them what they need to do, so in case there is someone out there, they'll know?
Absolutely. So just to reiterate, down at the bottom of your screen, there's a reactions button. You can select that. Gives you further options. From there, you would select raise hand, or you can type into the chat that you'd like to speak.
Thank you. Well, what we're down to is asking, Jim, do you have any other comments that you'd like to make?
Other than, if we could get this done, at the special meeting rather than waiting, Harry, the project is at a point where it's going to get to a standstill now until we deal with this. So.
No, I totally understand. Otherwise, I would have, done whatever I needed to do. But we do have the meeting set up for next Thursday, so and there is time. The hearing we need to close because you're at the 100-day statutory limit, which is going to expire sometime in August. So it has to be closed, and the commission does have 65 days after that. But I would have a recommendation for you next Thursday night, and the commission.
Jim, would you be willing to have this public hearing continue to next week? It's not next month, it's next week. And then give Harry a little time to ponder over the changes and you to ponder over them as well. And then I think we could come to a decision one way or the other.
Yeah, I guess, Jim Pretty, I guess that's where we're at. Without a recommendation for either way, we're kind of stuck. So, yeah.
So you're willing to do that? Okay, so Harry, we can continue this to our next meeting, which is next week, and hopefully we could wrap it up.
Okay, the 7/27 meeting.
Yep.
For the public, if anybody interested, that's also on Zoom. So same link will be in the agenda for the meeting.
Okay. And so, Jim, you have nothing else to say. You're
Nothing
good.
else to add, Joe? Do you have anything else to add at this point?
No.
Okay, well, if not, then we're going to move on to the next hearing.
Okay.
The next one is Anthony Capasso, applicant, Walter McGuire Jr. owner, 6678-82 Tucket Road and 0 Tweed Road, Pine Orchard. It's a re-subdivision to create 4 new lots from 3 existing properties located at 6676-82.
You just listen.
What do we do?
No, I wanted to leave.
Are we all right? Okay. Let me go back. Re-subdivision to create 4 new lots from 3 existing properties located at 6676-82 Tucket Road and 0 Tweed Road in coastal site plan. So if the applicant is ready or any of the members of his team ready, please feel free to make your presentation. Oh, he's got to be unmuted.
I
think
as
you're
the town planner, I've set Tim Lee up as co-host, so I don't know who else is here representing the applicant, but let me know.
Jim Galligan is here for.
Okay, thank you.
Are you going to be speaking on behalf of the applicant?
Both Jim Galligan and I will be speaking on behalf of the applicant.
Okay, good. Well, whenever you're ready, we're ready.
Sure. For the record, Timothy Lee on behalf of Anthony Capasso. Anthony Capasso has a contract to purchase the property at 66 Tucket Road and the other associated properties. We made a presentation at the June meeting. Mr. Capasso is interested in developing the property into a 4-lot subdivision. Ultimately, the lots would be used to build a house for him and his 3 sons. He's going to make it a family compound for he and his sons for their future. As I mentioned, we did make the presentation at the June meeting. The commission continued the public hearing to tonight in order to address some of the concerns raised in the town planner's memorandum and the members and comments from the commission at the last meeting. So I'll address a couple of the issues briefly, and then I'll turn the presentation over to Jim Galligan, who submitted revised plans to the town on July 6th. So with regard to the issues I'm going to address, there was a question regarding the ownership of the proposed road. The commission may recall that this subdivision was going to be served by a private cul-de-sac, which is consistent with the Pine Orchard zoning regulations. In the town planner's memo, he had asked who was going to own the road. And for the record, the road, we will create a homeowners association consisting of the 4 lot owners. The homeowners association will own the road, and each of the individual lot owners will be responsible for their proportionate share of the maintenance of that particular road. Another issue that came up during the course of the public hearing was the issue regarding inland wetlands. And for the record, our predecessor entitled, the current owner, did have the property evaluated by David Lord, who is a certified wetland soil scientist. Mr. Lord determined that there are no inland wetlands or watercourses on the property. He submitted his report and his findings to then Wetlands Enforcement Officer Diana Ross, and Diana Ross was satisfied that there are no wetlands on the property. So I think we have fully and fairly resolved that issue. I did speak to Jamie Fredericks after the last meeting. She said she had transmitted the wetlands records, both the Lord report and the correspondence with Diana Ross, to the commission, so that should be part of your record. Without taking up any more of your time, let me turn it over to Jim Galligan, and Jim can run through the revisions to the plan he has made since the last meeting.
Good evening. You can hear me okay?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we've made several changes to the plans. In particular, we have the drainage plan on sheet 4 and I have a fellow from my office. Harry, could you let my other engineer in, Nick McClay, into the meeting as well?
Is he indicated by some different name? Because I'm not coming up with that.
It
I have
should be
a Tweed, Tim L. Was Tim Lee.
Is it Matt?
Matt Barres?
Okay, we're on. All right. All right, if you could just give me a minute. He didn't anticipate
Sorry.
us getting on quite this early, so I'll give you an outline of the
Okay.
changes. We made a significant change to the grading plan, which was my reaction to the commission's concern about the dramatic amount of grading on the site. As Tim had mentioned, these homes are not going to be developed, immediately. Mr. Capasso has these. Well, there we go. Has intended to build these homes out for his family. Some of his kids are still in college, so that these homes are not going to be built right away. So what I did in response to the concern that the commission had about the extensive grading is that I limited the grading to just the road construction. And I did that with the anticipation of the commission requiring that the future plot plans come before the commission when and if the sons go to develop each one of these individual lots. Apparently, the town engineer is taking exception to that and is asking us to turn the layers back on that show all of the grading to go with that. If you see that in his correspondence, but that being that as it may, this is the road construction layout. I did show you the lot layout at the last meeting, but there was that extensive grading, and so we're going to have to resubmit that pursuant to the comments of the town engineer. I will mention that there was a lot of discussion about the runoff and the drainage. This detention basin that is constructed in the lower part of the page you're looking at is a large rain garden. It has 2 feet of 3-inch minus stone underneath it, and we did test pits in the area, and there's sand underneath that. The intention is for the runoff from the upper part of this road to go into this storm detention basin. A significant amount of it will be infiltrated back into the groundwater, especially the first flush, which is the most important part. There is a section of the basin a section of the road that's below the basin that is not connected to the detention basin. However, the retention that we achieve in the detention basin is much greater than the pre-development flow, even though that lower road section is not connected to it. We also, in the upper left-hand corner, added a couple of infiltrators, and those are underground detention structures to help mitigate that first flush again. They're not included in the detention analysis as they weren't intended for that. It's simply intended to get that first flush of highly pollinated, high temperature water into the ground rather than flushing it into the storm drainage system on Totoket Road. As I mentioned, the detention basin, after construction of the detention basin and full build out of all of the 4 homes, the peak runoff is cut in half, or between 50 and 60% of what the pre-development flow is. So we've kind of tried to react to the concern that there was some flooding down in the lower section of Totoket Road, and therefore tried to increase the detention to be able to hold additional water to try and mitigate some of the existing flooding problems. A couple of other things that were asked for was sightline. We did add the sight lines to one of the drawings to show that the sight lines for the project at the intersection exceed the 250 feet. If you could window in that, Nick, so we can get to the numbers for the sight line. I think the sight line is on the subdivision plan, maybe.
Gotcha. I think that sheet. Is it this
I
one?
think- right in there. I believe it's right in there. No, I don't think, who's got control of the plans? Does Nick get control or Evan? Do you have?
No, I'm Evan Brining, assistant town planner. If your engineer has joined us, do you know if he's on?
I believe
Oh.
I believe he's on. Hold on just a second. Let me just scan over and see if we got him on.
Harry Smith, town planner. Would it be the Navis and Young
Yeah,
square
yes,
there?
sir. That's it.
Okay.
That's it, Harry.
I'm going to
Thank
make him co-host so he can share his screen.
Thanks, sir.
Yep.
Okay, so Nick, I want to go to the plan that has the sightline distances indicated on them. I believe it's the that might be the subdivision plan showing the.
Sorry, my computer is being, Zoom. Hold on one second. Yes, come on.
So, excuse me. So, Harry Smith, town planner, sir, your name is Nick
Nick McClay.
Nick
McClay?
McClay, McLay.
McLay. Thank you.
Yep. Sorry. They're on the page, what would be page 4, or
Okay.
page 3 of the site plan.
And
They're
what
listed
are
on here. You can see the.
and what are the
sorry.
sightline distances there, Nick?
I've got 200. It was
240 feet
200
to the north.
240 feet north and roughly 260 feet south.
Yeah.
North, you can see just about 60 feet past the bridge. And then, south and north, you can see about 50 feet past that catch basin if you were to walk up the road. There's less of a defined spot, but that area.
Now, the abutters engineer had a number of questions about the drainage. Most of that drainage questions relate to how the individual lots are being developed. So we don't have that plan because I guess I misread the intent of the commission, and so therefore deleted or turned off the layers, if you will, of the actual grading around the individual lots. We did go out and identify significant trees in within the road limits, and are also proposing street trees of native species to replace the trees that are being removed by the construction. We also are putting a screening.
Sorry, this is the landscaping plan. Apologies. I appear to have an older version. I apologize for that. The correct version should have a mix of red cedar and 2 other types of trees, oaks and
Mix of eastern red cedar, maples, and white oaks. And we also have a row of deer resistant northern white cedar along the outside limits of the detention basin. A couple of other comments that were made were that, let's see, there are no proposed streetlights at this particular point in time. The fire department wanted a hydrant. We added a hydrant to the water main. The abutter wanted to make it clear that the water was not being, to lot 1 was not being served by the existing water service. We've changed that to show that the water main is the water service is coming off the main from the private road. I think that, Tim, I don't know if there's anything else that I should cover.
No, thank you, Jim, and thank you, Nick. No, that covers the presentation. Like I said, we were here last month. We thought we had addressed the concerns of the town engineer and the Planning and Zoning Commission. We did receive the memo late today from the town engineer's office. We will need to address those concerns. There's nothing we can't address there, but obviously we did receive that correspondence tonight, and we will need to respond to that.
Attorney Lee, so just checking. So we're still going to hear from the commissioners and the public and all, but you have an objection if we continue this?
No, I think we would welcome that. I think we need to continue it in order to address the concerns with the town engineer. And what we'll do is between now and the next meeting, we'll meet with the town engineer and make sure that we're on the same page in terms of what he wants us to show on the plans. Because, like I said, there's nothing we can't accommodate. We just want to make sure we're doing it to the satisfaction of the town engineer and ultimately the commission.
I agree. Okay, so is there anybody else that wants to say anything on your team on behalf of the application? We good?
Not at this point, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. So next we want to ask again either Harry or Evan for a staff report.
I apologize. I was not able to complete my full review. I did go through most of the materials, and hopefully in the next day or two, I can get something to Tim, to Jim and Nick, and give you guys as much time as possible before the next public hearing. If there are any changes that need to be made, did want to just touch upon one or two things. I do think that Jim covered that. He clarified that they are now proposing to come back for approvals from this commission for the individual lots. I'll dive into that and get some information for the applicant. That I did note that in their response to the town planner comments, that they have submitted an application to the East Shore Health District for approval of the septic systems. Our subdivision regulations require that an approval from the East Shore Health District is received before the Planning and Zoning Commission can make a decision. And that's all I have for right now. And I'll get the rest of my comments to Tim and Jim as best as I can.
Thank you, Evan. Harry, do you have anything more to add?
Harry Smith, town planner. No, not at this point. The feasibility, though, I just would point out that, as already probably been noted, that the Planning and Zoning Commission is reviewing this as their planning commission hat on, and that as a zoning commission, you do not have authority over this property since it's part of the Pine Orchard Association zoning area. So had the feasibility of approving plot plans post approval of a subdivision, I don't know how that would work, frankly. So you don't have any authority, and you would not be, the town CEO would not be the officer going through and evaluating the proposed construction of each lot. That would be the zoning officer in Pine Orchard.
Jim Galligan from Nafis and Young. Harry, given that, then we will show the plot plans on the plans and submit them back to you for next week.
Yeah, I believe the regular subdivision regulations require that there be a layout of how the lot's going to be developed. So, yeah. And Evans noted that, I think so.
Yeah,
I just wanted to highlight that process, that this is pretty aberrational, unusual.
Caught me
because of where it is.
Yeah, caught me a little off guard, as you can tell.
Yeah, that's it.
Right.
I don't know if anyone. I think the engineering firm that commented before, on behalf of one of the abutting property owners, is on the call, but I don't know if they want to say anything. So, and as Amy, actually, we have a hand raised by a person named Amy Bloom. I think maybe the attorney that also commented. So, do you want to get to public comment yet?
Yeah, let's do the commissioners first.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Comment. Yeah.
Okay.
So, I'm polling the commissioners out. Is there any commissioner who would like to address the application? Head shaking. I'll ask again. Are there any commissioners who want to make commentary on this particular application? Joe Vayuzo, I see your light lighting up now.
Oh.
Okay.
No, okay. So let's go down to the public commentary. So Harry, you mentioned Amy Bloom would like to speak.
There was a hand raised, which has gone down, but
I just unmuted her.
Am I
okay,
unmuted?
great.
Thanks,
Yes,
Evan.
you are.
Oh, here
Yeah.
she is. She's back.
I'm back. Thank
Okay.
you. Attorney Amy Bloom, Burstein, Volpe, and McKeon, representing the abutter Enrique Salas Romer. This property is located at 74 Totucket Road. We were here at the last public meeting. With me tonight is our engineer, Michael Ott, who's reviewed the plans that had been submitted and has several comments that I'd like him to share with the staff as well as the commissioners and the members of the board here. One thing I did not hear tonight is about the coastal site plan. I know that was something that had to be submitted. Is that something that's going to be presented, or what's the status of the coastal site plan?
I'll be glad to, oops, am I muted? No, I'm not. Oh, thank you. Yes, a CAM application has been submitted to the Planning and Zoning Commission. It was in our package of resubmission.
That's correct.
Attorney Bloom, there's anything more you'd like to add?
Yes, I was having a little difficulty with the unmuting here, so I'm unmuted again. So I will. What I would like to say is we'll have Mr. Ott speak, and then when Mr. Ott's done, I will follow up after Mr. Ott.
Very good.
Thank you.
Is he here? I'm assuming he's
Yes.
Harry Smithtown
Summer
Planning
Hill.
listed as Summer Hill Civil Engineers, and
Okay.
I've made Attorney Bloom, I've made you and Mr. Ott both co-hosts, so you can mute and unmute as you need to.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Thank you. Good evening. And just for the record, my name is Michael Ott. I'm a licensed professional engineer and land surveyor with Summer Hill Civil Engineers in Madison. I think the commission will remember we submitted an engineering review letter. I believe it was dated June 15th, which I think might have been the date of your last meeting, if I remember right. And we submitted a second letter today. We received revised information from Evan on the afternoon of the 11th. And we're able to complete a review of the revised information today. The applicant, I sent a copy of the letter to Jim Galligan also. The applicant has addressed the vast majority of the comments that were in our June 15th letter. There's really two, in my mind, there's two remaining issues of significance. One is intersection site distance at the proposed, the intersection of the proposed roadway with Totucket Road. And the other is the overall stormwater management system. Regarding intersection site distance, the drawings that Evan sent us, the drawing set, did not have the site distances on the plans that were shown by the gentleman from Napas and Young. It could be that there was a further revision that we haven't received, but the plan set we received on the 11th, and I'll tell you the revision date in a second. The revision date is July 5th of 23. That's the plan set that we received, and it did not have the site distances shown on the plan. So in our original letter, we had suggested, based on a site visit and a look, in the field, and taking a look at the location of the proposed road intersection, we had suggested that a sightline demonstration plan be submitted. And that would be more, and I apologize if I'm going into too much detail here, but I think it's important to note that the sightline demonstration plan would be more than just showing the sight lines and the distances in plan view on the plan. A formal sightline demonstration plan requires a topographic survey of the roadway for several hundred feet left and right of the proposed intersection, and The site lines are shown, a profile along the sight lines are shown, and some computation of the required site distances should be provided. The reason we had made that original comment is based on a field inspection, it's obvious that intersection site distance is limited by the railroad bridge if you were exiting the new road looking left, and it's also limited if you were exiting the new road looking right by a horizontal curve in the road. It's pretty obvious for anyone to see. So because that plan, we didn't receive that plan in the July 5th revision, I went back out in the field and I wheeled, and this isn't with the same accuracy that a sightline demonstration plan would provide, but I wheeled the distances down the road, and looking left, the bridge, the wall of the bridge abutment on the side of the road that the subdivision is 150 feet from the exiting lane of the new road. To the right, it would appear, the best I could tell, that there may be possible to get 200 feet or a bit greater of intersection site distance at the horizontal curve. Difficult to tell because of vegetation. I don't know if that vegetation is within the state highway right-of-way or on private land. One of the things that would have to be addressed in demonstrating sightline is the distance of what we call the driver's eye from the edge of the travelway. It is the Connecticut DOT would ask us to set that distance 15 feet back from the travelway. At times, they have let us go down to 10 feet. Most municipalities allow 10 feet. Your regulations, interestingly, I didn't realize this until this second review, set the driver's eye at 20 feet back from the edge of pavement. I think that's, in my opinion, highly unusual. I don't think it's practical, and I know for sure from my second visit that intersection sight distance cannot be achieved with a driver's eye 20 feet back from the edge of Totucket Road. And because of all of this, I think that the town engineer may have already taken a look at it. I wasn't aware of his new comments, but he may already have taken a look at this. But I would strongly suggest that an intersection, based on the measurements I've taken, that an intersection site distance demonstration plan be provided. And I'm sure the town engineer, if he hasn't already, once John does get a chance to take a look at it, he would be able to comment on the need for that plan also. And then the second, I think the remaining important issue is stormwater management. In a nutshell, the simple version, and you'll see this in the letter that we submitted once you have time to take a look at it, I think a more rigorous look at stormwater management should be performed. We had spelled out in our initial review letter that drainage area maps and time of concentration computations and runoff curve number computations and hydrologic routing computations, storm sewer design computations, water quality volume and groundwater recharge computations that are contained as guidance in the Connecticut Stormwater Quality Manual, that all of that be submitted. The majority of that has not been submitted in the revised engineering report. The drainage area maps have been submitted. I looked at them. Most importantly, the drainage area that contributes surface water runoff to the infiltration basin is noted in the report. and on the drainage area maps to have an area of a little over 3 acres. I delineated it, and I believe it's actually 1.6 acres. I think that, I think without getting into a lot of technical detail, I think that the overall stormwater management, as we said in our first letter, the overall stormwater management system should be reviewed and should be coordinated with the overall grading plan for the entire subdivision. As was discussed earlier, the grading for the individual lots is not on the revised plan set. That made it a little more difficult to do a complete review of the stormwater management aspects of the project. So I think once that is back on the plans, I think it would be wise to take a hard look at the stormwater management system and provide all the standard documentation that's typically provided. And it's all, without going through it again, it's all outlined in our letter. I think that's really it for my comments. I'd be glad to try to answer any questions that the commission might have, or that the applicant's engineer or attorney might have.
Thank you. I think Attorney Bloom wanted to make additional comments.
Yes, thank you. We had also discussed at the last meeting that the regulations require that the amount of blasting and location of blasting to be included in the application. We did not hear anything again tonight on the plan for the blasting. As was discussed in the last meeting, there is significant ledge there and there will need to be blasting done. How is this blasting going to occur? How are these neighbors going to be protected when the blasting is done? That still has not been addressed. While we're talking about, there were some trees drawn. I don't believe that we had a detailed landscaping plan with the significant trees. And, one of the big issues brought up by the engineers that they failed to, the design overall fails to provide safe and convenient access. The sight lines, they do not work for the road where it's intended to be placed. And I was not aware of a report from the town planner either. At this point, we have not seen that additional report yet. I would like to comment that I believe Attorney Lee said that the revised plans were submitted on July 6th. The revised plans were provided to us on July 11th, and it was represented to us at the time that the plans were actually filed late in the afternoon on July 10th, not the 6th. So there has been a bit of scrambling to try to get around and review everything. So we're glad that this is going to be continued. But I would ask that the blasting be addressed, the significant trees, how the noise and the effects of the blasting are going to be buffered, and protect the surrounding neighbors. That's basically all I have for this evening, reserving comment for when we reconvene.
Thank you, Attorney Bloom. Fred Russo. Is there anyone else from the public who would like to make commentary toward this application? Evan, you see anybody? Hands up.
Yes, I believe Mr. Tweed would like to speak, but before he begins, I'd just like to reiterate down at the bottom of your screen where there's a reactions button. You can further press raise your hand if you'd like to speak or ask any questions. You can also type it in the chat if you'd like to speak.
I think Mr. Tweed is muted too. Looks like he's muted.
That is correct.
Okay.
Now you're unmuted, Mr. Tweed.
Yeah, hi, my name is William Tweed, and I'm a neighbor of this property here. And I'm glad she brought up the blasting. I mean, it's solid ledge up here. I grew up here. That was my parents' property originally back there. I also wanted to bring up that there's endangered species back there, these box turtles, which I know are on the endangered species list, and they're of special concern in the state of Connecticut. The tree canopy back there of large old growth trees is very important to me. And I believe the forestry department in Branford would be most interested in taking a look at this. And if they were to do something up here, was to have everything marked and looked at. These trees are buffering the sound of the railroad tracks. And if they were to be taken down, I'm going to be hearing nothing but railroad tracks. I've spoken with people in the forestry department already, and they will be looking into this matter. And I would definitely like to see what they're going to do about the blasting. It's a major concern because I know it's going to crack foundations up here. And also, the wildlife is just abundant up here. There's so much wildlife of the owls and hawks and foxes and raccoons and bobcats. It's a lot of animals that live up back here, and because they've been crowded out of all the lack of land and wild space for them to run in, that they don't have many places to go anymore. But that's one of my big concerns. I think the forestry department should take a look at this.
Fred Russo, thank you, Mr. Tweed.
Thank you.
Evan, do we have any other public commentary?
I do not see anyone else.
If there are no other members of the public who are going to make commentary, then we're going to ask our applicant to summarize or finish up if he has any comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a number of comments, but I'll reserve them until we're together again. I think at this point in time, we'd like the opportunity to revise the plans. I think, once again, we can accommodate the concerns of the town engineer. I think we can accommodate the concerns of Mr. Ott. And I think we can address the issues raised by Attorney Bloom. I don't think there's anything I've heard tonight that's a deal breaker from the application's perspective. I think we just need to dot the I's and cross the T's, and we look forward to having the opportunity to come back and do that.
Well, thank you, Attorney Lee. So for that matter, we're finished. Harry, we're gonna move the town public notice out of the off this part of the agenda, and we'll go to the business park realty.
Before we move on, I believe Attorney Lee.
Yeah, I was going to ask that the commission continue the public hearing. I'm happy to grant whatever extension is necessary. I guess I would just, does the commission know when it's likely to meet again, what their schedule is like? I know there's a meeting
next week,
the 27th.
Yes.
All right, so I suppose it.
September 7th.
Pardon me?
Following next week's special meeting would be September 7th.
Then, Mr. Chair, could I ask that we be continued to the special meeting? We'll do our best to get the plans together. If we're not able to, I'll be in touch with town staff and then ask to have it moved to the September meeting. But we'd like the opportunity to at least try to get the revised plans in for the special meeting next week.
Fred Russo, Harry, does that work with the agenda that you have for the 27th? I don't know what exactly it is. Can we accommodate them? Harry, you're muted.
Are you muted?
Yeah. You're still muted.
There, Harry Smith, Town Planner. We have not set the agenda for that special meeting. Just as everyone may recall, once we do set the agenda, it's not possible at the special meeting to add an item. So we'll certainly add this, but I think that could be certainly done. So it's not a problem.
Okay, that's good. That should help you, Attorney Lee. Okay.
And just to go back, I probably was not clear enough. I don't see any reason to not take up under public hearings the special exception modification. I would just suggest that the commission consider adding to the agenda under new business a recently received Section 824 referral for the above ground fueling facility at the Branford Fire Headquarters that is the subject of the application 23-6.1 for a special exception modification. And maybe we could take up the 824 referral after the public hearing for the special exception modification.
Okay, Harry, I'm going to rely on you to remind me whenever all this is supposed to take place.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you could do that right now is add the 824 referral if you'd like to the agenda under new business, and the commission can take a simple vote to do that. And And then you always have the ability to take up things out of order if you like as the chair.
Well, then I would ask the commissioners if they would be willing to make that change in our agenda. And if they are willing to do that, can I have someone make a motion to change the order of our agenda tonight?
I don't want to interrupt and speak out of turn. If we could continue this public hearing first.
I think that was done. Was that not stated? That was continued?
It was to next
Okay,
meeting.
I'm
Thank
sorry.
you.
We agreed on that, yeah.
I didn't get it either, Tim, so I appreciate it.
I think Harry was muted actually when it was.
Oh, maybe that was all right. So
yeah, but I think we got the drift of what was happening.
Yeah, I think, Mr. Chair, I think if you just state that the hearing is being continued to the 7/27 meeting of the commission, that would suffice.
Okay, I'll take exactly what you said and ask, do we have anybody on our commission who will make a motion in that regard? I'll ask again, is there anybody who will make that motion?
I think Joe is willing to.
A motion for which, Fred? Are we moving? We don't need a motion to continue, but we do need a motion for the new business.
I was just promoting what Harry said.
No, there's too many things on the table here. So I think you just, Mr. Chair, if you just simply state we're continuing the public hearing on the subdivision at 66, 76, 82 Totucket Road and 0 Tweed Road to the July 27th special meeting of the commission, that would take care of that. That's all that needs to happen. But you need to do that as chair.
Okay, so I'm going to make that motion that we continue this meeting or this hearing for public hearing for the particular applicant, Anthony Capasso, to our July 27th meeting.
Yep.
Okay, so now I'll ask, is there anybody that will put that in the form of a motion?
You can take a motion, but you don't need to.
Okay, then let's not do it.
Okay.
I'm right with that.
Yeah, and I apologize for the confusion because I'm sort of jumping ahead here. So I think that public hearing is continued. And then what I was suggesting was we've got this recent Section 824 state statute referral regarding the above ground fueling facility at the Branford Fire Headquarters at 3949 North Main Street. So I'm suggesting that the commission add that 824 referral to its agenda as new business item number 2.
So we'll take that up under new business at that.
That would need a motion in order to add it to the agenda. You would need to have a motion and a vote for that.
Okay, so
can I
make that request now?
Yeah. Yep.
Moving the 824 to the under new business under new business. Yes. So is there anyone that will make a motion that will to move the that agenda item to new business?
Chadwick will make that motion.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Ayuso seconds.
Joe Ayuso seconds it. All right, we're gonna do a roll call. Find out if it's gonna work or not. Joe Ayuso, how do you vote?
Vote in favor.
Joe Chadwick, how do you vote?
Chadwick is in favor.
Marcy, how do you vote?
Marcy's in favor.
Massimo Ligori.
Massimo's in favor.
And Fred Russo, I am in favor. So that'll be done.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So let's see. Where are we now on the agenda?
I think you're ready to probably open the hearing under public hearing number 4.
Yes, that's what I was going to ask. Let's do that. The public hearing number 4 is John F. Huffler, PE, CFM, town engineer, applicant, town of Branford, care of James B. Cosgrove for selectman owner, 39 to 49 North Main Street, special exception modification to add a municipal to add a municipal above ground fueling facility accessory structure per section 3.8b are also requested. So who is here to represent the town? Is there anybody that is speaking on behalf of the town? See Tom Mahone here.
Good evening, everybody. John Heffley, town engineer.
John, go ahead. Fred Russo, go ahead.
So just to give a little background, we currently have a 10,000 gallon underground fuel tank at the police station, which is where all the gasoline fleet fuels at this time. That underground fuel tank, like most underground fuel tanks, have a limited lifetime. This one is up around 2025, so we're kind of against the clock. We've looked at this for about a year and a half now, trying to figure out where we could provide a new fleet fueling station. Looking at the existing properties around town, we've got we looked at the DPW facility. However, that's a leased facility, so we wouldn't make any permanent improvements there. The only other one that really made sense would have been the wastewater treatment plant. However, they are extremely busy and do not have the room to accommodate this kind of facility. So worked really closely with Chief Mahoney to figure out if we could fit something at the fire headquarters. We did identify a few areas and went through some vetting and figured out what would work best, of course, for the fire operations, which is the most important, and chose the location that we're currently proposing. This would be, as opposed to the 10,000 gallon gasoline tank that we currently have, this would be an 8,000 gallon split tank. So it'd be 4,000 gallons of diesel and 4,000 of gasoline. Be able to accommodate, really most of the town departments. DPW currently has a above ground tank at their facility, so they fuel at their facility all the time unless there's emergencies, where they're on the west side of town, either plowing or extreme storm events where, they really want to refuel and get back on the road as quickly as possible. They would then use this facility. Wastewater treatment plant also has their own fueling facilities, so they primarily fill up there. Again, if there's an emergency and they're out, checking on pumps and things like that during storms, they would then utilize this facility in those kind of emergencies. Otherwise, you're looking at, our standard fueling operations now, which, I can tell you, my town vehicle, every time I go to fill up during the day on regular business hours, there's never anybody at the pump at the police station. It's kind of interspersed in and out. The police station does fuel up at the end of their shifts to make sure that the vehicles are ready for the next shift, and they don't need a refuel. I imagine in my conversations with the fire department and Chief Mahoney, they would certainly welcome this. We got some numbers from him that engine one alone travels about 1,500 miles a year just to refuel. So, that's a lot of mileage on their trucks, a lot of burned fuel just getting to the fueling facility. I believe, and Chief Mahoney can chime in later maybe, that they're refilling at the public works facility or wastewater treatment plant. So the tank that we are proposing is a double wall tank. It's got all the modern safety features included, so overflow protection, alarms, spill kits. The tank itself is ballistic, so it can take bullets, not be damaged. There is around the fueling station is a concrete apron which has spill protection, which can handle 13 gallons of product if there was a spill. It's important to note that, as is our current situation, that when you go to a traditional fueling facility, you could set that tab and just kind of walk away from your pump. That'll be disabled as is now. So you're required, the user is required as they're filling to stand there and hold the pump, which will certainly alert them immediately if there's any kind of spill or overflow. So also important to note is that the first responders to any kind of spill of this nature would be the fire department. So that's the fire marshal. The fire department in general would be right there to manage any types of spills that would occur, had it been outside of any of the containment systems and all the safety mechanisms in place. There'll be a 24/7 monitored location as is required. We got the National Fire Code, we've got building code, we've got all sorts of codes that we have to abide by. So, and all of them are, up to date, that, everyone realizes that, fuel is not anything to laugh at, that, if, whether it be a spill or, God forbid, a fire or anything like that, that all those safety mechanisms are in place. So, we're proposing a canopy system to protect the users, which are all, town employees, from bad weather. That the reason why we have an overheight structure is to accommodate those, the ladder truck, the pump out truck from the wastewater treatment facility in case of emergencies. We want to make sure that, if we're putting all the money at this project, that we're doing it right. We'll be able to accommodate everybody. Again, have those safety mechanisms in place. There is some screening with fencing. The lighting is full cutoff, and we'll be in compliance with, obviously, all the town regulations. We are the town, so we're going to abide by everything that's required. So, I think outside of that, if there's any questions, we're happy to answer them.
Thank you. Fred Russo, is there anyone else? I see the chief there. I'm assuming he's going to speak on behalf of it as well. Chief Mahoney, are you ready? You're muted. There you go.
I'm sorry, Chief. I went to go unmute you and I muted you.
I believe I'm unmuted now. Is that true?
Correct.
Right. Yeah. So I'd like to reiterate that everything that Town Engineer Hofferly said. The real dangerous tank right now is the one that's still in the ground at the police department. That one really needs to come out. The dangers of below ground tanks, especially older ones. The modern technology with a double walled tank alleviates all that. And, we believe the project is a good project. The larger trucks will travel essentially in the same direction as the current fire trucks do when they return from incidents. The smaller vehicles will kind of come down the hill and, fuel kind of facing from the back driveway towards North Main Street. The larger trucks, again, will travel in the same direction as the circulation at fire headquarters right now. And even though there are quite a few town vehicles, most vehicles aren't, fueling up daily. As John said earlier, with the town pump at the police department, again, I fuel my vehicle there. It's rare that there's any type of backup. If anything, it's about one car at a time. So, I hope you will look in favor of the project. It is very inconvenient for most of the town vehicles to have to go, that use diesel fuel have to go all the way out to the Public Works Department to fuel. And it does contribute significantly to the wear and tear on vehicles for no reason other than to get fuel, even though that we do try to do that in conjunction with incidents when we're out there.
Chief Fred Russo, just curious, why did it take so long to come up with this idea? The fire stations have been up for 10, 11 years, 12 years, something like that.
Yeah, it was never part of the original proposal, Fred. And, the Public Works project was, initially was talked about going to a different location. It's still out on North Branford Road. So with the gas station already being at the police department, in an underground tank, we decided that since that tank had to be replaced, it would be a good opportunity to move us into the future and take care of two problems at the same time: the underground gasoline tank and the diesel being at Public Works. We can accommodate both. Those double-walled tanks, the dual tanks, are really great technology. There's very few problems with them ever. It just, because we had to do the police department project, we felt it was a good opportunity to do both at the same time.
Listen, anytime, Fred Russo, anytime our first responders can become more efficient, I think that's a good thing. And if this helps both the police department and the fire department, I think it's a good idea. but we have to check with our staff and see what they think. So, Harry, I think you did the report on this. So would you like to comment?
Sure. Harry Smith, Town Planner. I'm just going to share my screen and run through my report fairly quickly. To start out with, technically, we've got 3 special exception applications in front of you. The first is to add the fueling facility itself to the existing municipal facility, the fire station. The second one is grading within 100 feet of an inland wetland, which I'll point out. I'm going to pull a map up here. And this is a, not very detailed plan, but you can see here's a wetland. This is a residential property. So the north is up. This is sort of the back road, if you will, to I think it's Cherry Road to the south. So this is clearly, you can see the line here. That's the 100-foot limit from the wetland. So this was an application needed to go to Inland Wetlands Authority, and that was approved. So we have an approval from them that is certainly needed statutorily before the commission can act. So that requires a special exception because you're doing some grading within 100 feet of that wetland. You can see the regrading lines here, and there'll be some reconstruction, of course, where the fueling facility is itself. And then the canopy, which you didn't really see the plan set, and I do have that here. Let's see if I can pull it up. There, okay. It's a lot of details here. So here's the canopy and sort of the what you'll see looking at it basically from the existing pavement behind the fire station. There'll be a fence around the tank itself and some of the equipment sticking off the top of it. This will be, I believe, the diesel pump is set up so, as Chief Mahoney mentioned, the fire vehicles can come basically drive by as they currently flow, and they can pull adjacent to the diesel pump and fuel up. This will be the gasoline. This is sort of oriented towards that back road to the south out of the site, and the canopy will sit over that. And it's a little bit taller, I believe, than 15 feet. I think it's about 15 here, and it's a few more feet for the actual canopy face itself. So that requires an additional special exception approval. So you've got the 3 of them. So just running through this pretty quickly, I think we talked about the history of the site a little bit, and when the current fire station was constructed. This used to be, of course, the site of the DPW and smaller previous facility for the fire department. There's really no issue with the bulk requirements outside the 15-foot limit on accessory structures, but that's allowed to be exceeded if you get a special exception, which they've applied for. In terms of landscaping and screening, behind the facility, I'll go back to the plans quickly. Where the heck is it? This is it. All right. So back in here, and again, that's the corner of adjoining property. There were 3, I think, spruce trees that were planted as part of the, I believe, the fire station. And the current one that was constructed in 2010, 2011. Those, I think, would end up being removed as part of the regrading. This is all wooded, and this is a wetland, so there's really no use of this property by the current owner, the residents. The house and the garage front on Cherry Hill Road about 300 feet away. There's also a little knoll here, so this is about elevation low 40s up close to 50, and then there's a knoll back here, maybe 150 feet away, that gets up to 60-foot elevation, so that helps to screen it from the residences along Cherry Hill Road also. So I'll leave it to the commission. I did suggest a condition where we throw in a little bit extra vegetation here. There are homes here. I believe this is Hopkins. I don't know what the end of it is. Well, Hopkins Court. So there's very little room here for any vegetation. I mean, the grade does climb up as you get into these residential lots, and there's quite a bit of vegetation on the back of these lots on the slope of the hill. So there's some screening and buffering there. There is the benefit of these will be up higher in grade, so this will be less visible, and the light under the canopy will be less visible. So you're not talking about really any visibility of the direct light. These, as was mentioned by the town engineer, full cutoff lights under it. I believe they're designed to be recessed into the canopy underneath. One question I did have was whether, and this came up in some comments that were made about it, and I'm wondering if the lighting could be put on a motion sensor or some kind of dimmer and brighten up as someone's accessing the facility during nighttime hours. I understand there may be some conflict with code or requirements, but I think that's something worth taking a look at just to minimize impact on the neighbors. So I'll go back to my report here. Again, the landscaping, there was, it is, as I did go out and take a look, a bike rack. I don't know if anybody uses it, but it is here. So to make sure that the regulations complied with, I'm asking that the bike rack be located somewhere else on the site. We just talked about the outdoor lighting. There is a limit on the foot candle readings, the amount of light basically you can have in the ground underneath the canopy of 20 foot candles, which is pretty high, and probably more than adequate to meet any other kind of code requirement for it. If that could be dropped down to sort of the minimum necessary for compliance with safety and any other code requirements, that would be helpful. The light is proposed to be 3,000 degrees Kelvin for a correlated color temperature or less. So it would be not the blue-white kind of penetrating light. Right now the package is proposed in the mid-range of the choices for wattages and lumen output only generates about 5 foot candles on the ground. So that would be, an acceptable level of light, much less than you see under any other gas station canopy probably in town. Just noted that the slopes will need to be less than 3-on-1. They're proposing to cover the disturbed areas, not to be actually part of the facility, with topsoil, be loamed and seeded. There is sedimentation erosion control proposed. I believe the site all grades down into the existing paved area. There'll be some protection for the existing hitch basins. And I don't know if Mr. Heffley wants to say anything about we do have a email from him saying that the amount of increase in stormwater runoff be very minimal. There'd be a slight increase in impervious surface coverage, be widening that road out so that vehicles can get close to the pump. So there'll be a little more pavement than we have now. I don't see any real conflict with any of the special exception criteria I mentioned in the wetlands approval. So at this point, I've done a slightly revised, maybe it's this one. Yeah, so this is the revised version. So I'm proposing a general finding that Commission finds appropriate conditions and modifications, criteria section 9.8 are addressed for all the 3 special exception applications. Proposed condition that we get signed, sealed copies of the plans, relocate the bike rack, submit documentation regarding the final choice of output of the lights so that there's no more than 20 foot candles on the ground at maximum. And we use the minimum with consistent with safe use of the facility. This is an optional condition, frankly, that you could use if you wanted to require a little bit more landscaping behind the facility up against that residential property, abutting it, just to replace the 3 spruces. Up to you. The standard condition proposing, soil and erosion control has been in place, subject to inspection by the ZO. We have just a standard condition about if there's any dust that's creating a problem, that the ZO can ask that be taken care of. Just wetted down or whatever. And I've added a proposed fourth condition here saying if technically possible and not in conflict with any other requirement, code, or regulation, the lighting shall be set up to be activated through a motion detection sensor or dimmed to be only fully activated by such a sensor. That's only if it's possible to do that and for the facility to still be in compliance with everything it needs to be in compliance with and be operated the way the town wants to operate it. So I'll stop there. And we can go back to this later on if the commission decides to close the hearing.
Thank you, Harry. Fred Russo, are there any commissioners who want to make comments about the application? Any commissioners want to make a comment? Third and last call. Anybody on our commission who would like to make commentary? Well, seeing that there are none, we'll ask for public commentary. Is there anybody here in the public who will wish to speak to this application? Anybody who would like to speak to this application?
We do have a gentleman named Tom Carvin, and I'm going to.
Okay.
You, Mr. Carvin.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Could you guys hear me?
We can. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay. I'm figure out how to lower my hand as well here. Okay. So my name is Tom Carvin. I live on Hopkins Court. As mentioned, I'm one of the property owners that abuts the back of the site that's being discussed. I have the unfortunate distinction of having to, raise concerns with a project that, clearly it's a town project and, we all support our firefighters and, but, this definitely has a very large impact on myself and other neighbors who didn't join, but verbally have expressed similar concerns. And I definitely appreciate, by the way, the call outs about the dimming of the lighting. That's one of the things on my list. I will say I did actually write up probably a 4-page letter expressing all my concerns, and I sent it to the email address that I found online. But I don't know where that goes. So I will try not to actually read the whole letter. I'm just going to try to hit the highlights. My hope is that everybody that's on the commission gets a copy of these letters and can absorb the content in it, and will read it before making decisions. For sure. Oh, I'm sorry.
Just to interrupt. Sorry, Harry Smith, Town Planner. The letter was forwarded to the commission members this afternoon, I believe. So hopefully everyone got that through their email.
Great. Yeah. So I'll definitely not read it. I'll just going to hit some highlights though for the benefit of other people on the call. Okay. So, and again, I'm kind of going to go through here without trying to read the whole thing. So I guess just to level set on this area of town, these neighborhoods, this is all residential, right? All of these houses here, purchased homes in a residential zone. And, I got to say that, I'm not super thrilled, with basically a 24-hour gas station being built quite literally 30 feet from my property. I don't think anybody could argue that would be something that could concern you. Again, I don't want to go through this whole thing. The comment about the impacts to the neighbors. Yeah, I mean, definitely, the properties on Cherry Hill are maybe not as directly impacted by the proximity to the fueling station itself, but I definitely want to make a big call out about the level of traffic we're talking about. That access road is not really meant to carry that kind of traffic. That access road dumps directly into a very densely packed neighborhood. Hopkins drops where the access road is, and that's Cherry Street. That abuts right into Cherry Hill. You got Lincoln and Monroe. All of these neighborhoods, if you've been down there, are so densely packed that you oftentimes can't consecutively drive in 2 lanes because there's so much on-street parking. And if we're basically saying, the traffic now on this road is, I don't know, maybe a dozen fire vehicles, and now we're taking almost the entire Branford fleet daily up this road on purpose, which means on purpose routing all of that traffic through those lower neighborhoods. I walk my dog there. It's there's not even sidewalks through most of that area. right where that road exits out. The road intersection from Cherry to Cherry Hill is not. It has terrible sight lines with those bushes there. You have to put your nose out just to be able to make that turn. And likewise, if cars are doing the full pull through, they might then try to go out to Route 1 and then make the left where the restaurant is onto Cherry Hill. That is a terrible intersection making a left. Anybody who's been in that area knows how bad that is. So that's concern one. It's just the amount of traffic this is pulling into a residential neighborhood. Let's see here. And again, I'm really trying not to go through all the items on here because you all have access to the document. The comments around safety and about like the catch basin to catch the spills, things like that. I appreciate that there things are super safe these days and it can take a bullet. But as I'm going through the plan and I see pictures of quite literally documented a blast radius saying if this thing's explode, this is the circle that will be impacted. That doesn't really give me the warm cozies, knowing that my house is directly behind that. Yes, the blast one doesn't hit my house, but it's I don't know, will the windows go out? I from the shockwave, I have no idea. I also don't know what it's going to smell like, particularly in the summer. I've never lived 30 feet from a gas station, so I don't know how that's going to impact my enjoyment and use of my property. As noted, this property is on a hill. So my only level land where we recreate is directly abutting this. This is where we spend our time as a family. And having, excuse me, having, that the noise and the traffic and the light and the smells is not ideal. So, and again, I do totally appreciate the note about the lights because, the most prominent view from my house, because it's a cape on the front, but it's dormered out. All the windows are in the back. Is that berm that's going to get knocked down and where the gas station is going to be? So, a 15-foot canopy with, strung up with lights, kind of an eyesore. And definitely, we see the lights that are there now. This is definitely adding a lot of lights. So I definitely appreciated that there was some comments about trying to address that. Let's see here. I really am trying fast, because I know everybody has things to do. The grading. So I did, I heard some notes there about that there should be some erosion control, and something about 3-to-1 ratio. I actually, when the project was done to begin with, 10 years ago, whatever it was, that road was cut down from being completely level with my property and all properties. To basically a 4-foot drop. That was never erosion controlled. If you were to go there right now and look at it, as you walk along the white fence line, you could see spots where it's a 4-foot drop off and it probably goes 4 foot out. It's got to be a 45 degree angle there. And it's just a raw earth. I mean, I flicked grass seeds on it, but it didn't really stick because it's so steep. So if we're dropping this road another 2 feet or more, it's like I do have concerns around what it's going to do and erosion impacts on that bank. So I definitely would encourage that to be looked at, because honestly, I think it should probably have a retaining wall to begin with. Let's see. Give me a second. I'll find the next section. I know here the classic one I always hear on these meetings is, what is the impact to resale value? If I need to sell my home at some point in the future, I can be pretty confident that a giant explosive tank, 16-foot canopy, bank of lights definitely isn't helpful to resale value. So, and that's not usually the kind of thing you would have to think about in a residential zone that your property values could be impacted by, the creation of a 24/7 gas station. So I think I'll leave it there, especially since, the much larger list of points was emailed everybody. Excuse me. So I think that's it. So thank you for letting me express my concerns.
Ms. Carmen Frederickson, thank you for your commentary. Is there anybody else from the public who would like to make comments? Evan, you see anybody?
I do not see anyone else.
Okay, if not, then we're going to ask our applicant, Ms. Hoffley, if you'd like to summarize or comment or whatever.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, as the town, we want to be sensitive to the neighbors and what their concerns are. As Harry alluded to, and thanks for bringing that up, Harry, that we are looking into and once we received Mr. Carvin's letter, I immediately called our consultant and said, what do we need for lighting there? I'm sure there is some requirement. He didn't give me a definitive answer as to what's required. We do know it has to be 24/7 monitored, which includes lighting. But any accommodations that we can make that are reasonable, we'll certainly look at, as far as dimming lights at certain hours of the day and things like that. It only makes sense. I did fail to mention kind of the circulation that we anticipate with this. So, we have talked with the first selectman about, and the fire chief about, the circulation. We certainly don't want any cars outside of emergency vehicles, excuse me, headed to that emergency light in the front of the bays where emergency vehicles normally exit. The town policy is really going to be stated to the fleet that, you are to come in through Route 1 and exit through Route 1. We can't guarantee that. People know about that exit, in the rear. However, we do expect the vast majority, if not all, fleet members to enter and exit from Route 1. And certainly, we understand the risks of taking a left-hand turn on a Route 1 there. However, the people who are driving around town with these fleet vehicles know what it's like to exit that area and, know where to go to get to where they need to be without taking those kind of risks. Certainly we expect them to be defensive drivers, but, excuse me, the blast radius, I'll say I'd certainly be concerned as well, seeing that on a plan, being a neighbor. That's really included, I believe, for code issues, so, and I'm not sure if that's part of the NFPA, the fire code, or a building code, but I believe that is something that needed to be shown. Certainly is, good for the public to see that, we're not near any critical structures with, case of a catastrophic event. So, but I do see, why you'd be a little uneasy with that. I would be as well. On the erosion part of things, we're going to certainly have in our bid specifications on what the contractors required and expected to do as far as establishing turf. It is a town property. We're all concerned with that. And, much to the chagrin of some of the departments in town, the planning and zoning department and the inland wetlands department are very, on top of, any kind of erosion concerns. Especially since it is near a wetland and draining to a wetland. So they'll be notifying us as soon as there's an issue, and we'll notify the contractor to really fix those issues. So hopefully that addresses a lot of the concerns of Mr. Carvin in the neighborhood. And again, open any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much. I guess we can conclude that the application has been heard. There are no more comments. And Harry, I think we can move on to our last applicant, business partner.
Yeah, I mean, the only suggestion I had, Mr. Chairman, was that if you would consider taking up that new business item, the Section 824, just while the town engineer and the fire chief is still on.
So you want to do it right now? You think it's a good idea to do it right now?
I do, yeah, because then that's, that way Mr. Everly doesn't need to sit through another application if you're willing to do that.
I'm in favor of doing that.
Okay.
I don't know if we need the commissioners to say yes or no, but it seems like a good idea. It makes it more convenient for everybody to hear it at one time and not delay it. So I would ask Mr. Hoffley if he would want to make commentary on that. Harry, should we read that letter? I think that's what we should do.
I can put it up on the screen if you'd like. And so at this point, just to make sure we've done it, if there's no maybe you just want to ask if there are no objections, you can close the public hearing for the special exception application.
Okay. Are there any commentary, any objections? Commissioners, does any commissioner have an objection to closing the meeting? I don't hear any, so
I have no objection, but I just wanted to note, pursuant to odors, there is a vapor recovery system on this that nobody mentioned. So anything that would have to do with fuel odors would probably be controlled pretty well by the vapor recovery system, and transient odor would probably be a non-issue. But other than that, we should continue.
Thank you, Joe. So where does this leave us? How we can close?
So yeah, you can just close. You can just state the public hearing's closed if you like.
Hearing's closed, and we'll
then you
pick it up
if you like. Yeah, I mean, you could just say that nobody has any objection. Going to take up new business item number 2, the CGS 824 referral, and I'll put that up.
Okay. Let's take a look at that and see what it's about.
Okay. Okay, sure. You should have before you portion of a letter from the Board of Selectmen letterhead on it. So it's a letter dated July 20th to the Planning and Zoning Commission regarding State Statute Section 824 referral. Dear Commission members, the town of Branford has produced plans for the installation of an above-ground fueling facility at Branford Fire Headquarters, 3949 North Main Street. The proposed fuel tank is for the benefit of the municipal fleet. This project is necessary to allow the town to remove the 10,000-gallon underground storage tank at the police department, which will be rendered obsolete in 2025, and concludes with a statement: the town requests the Planning and Zoning Commission report favorably on this request. Very truly yours, James B. Cosgrove, for Selectman. I'll just remind the commission that this is a special referral provided for in state statute, and the options are for the commission to vote to send back a positive report to the first selectman, or a negative report. If you send back a positive report, the project proceeds. If you choose to send back a negative report, then that requires a supermajority vote by the Board of Selectmen and RTM, whatever body would control the decision-making for it to go ahead. So it's not a full stop, but that's the process. It's not an application review. It's separate. It's a separate state statutory process referral in your function as the planning commission. So that is the referral. I did not really get a chance to look at the town plan, which is what I typically do in discussing these things. Well, I'm going to quickly flip in and see if there's any statements on expanding fire department facilities and service, and any concerns expressed there about service issues in the east side of town. So I apologize for not having a chance to do this previously, but we just got that this afternoon. All there really is some general statements that this is in section 13.3. Branford should prepare itself for longer term issues, upgrading municipal facilities, but there is a statement that says evaluating the functionality and adequacy of outlying fire stations. So there's nothing really specific to this fueling facility. There's just general statements about the town should be planning ahead and making sure it's anticipating what the needs will be. So I think it sort of falls in line with that. So it's really all I think the Plan of Conservation Development offers.
Okay. Harry, so I think the commission has to vote on this 824 referral, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so I'm just going to kind of poll the commissioners. Does anybody have any comments about the referral, one way or the other, before we take a vote? No one? Okay, so then I'd like someone to make a motion to accept the 824 referral.
That would be to add make a positive report?
Positive, yes.
Joe Vayuso makes a positive report on the referral.
Thank you, Joe. Is there a second? Marcy, is that you?
Yep, I'll second that.
Okay, so Marcy seconds it. So let's do the roll call. Joe Vayuso, in favor?
Joe Vayuso in favor.
Joe Chadwick?
Chadwick is in favor.
Marcy Paluzzi?
Marcy's in favor.
Massimo Liguri?
Massimo's in favor.
And Fred Russo's in favor. So it's passed.
Great. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we got that all wrapped up, it looks like.
Yeah. So we'll still need to go back to the special exceptions, but for now, I guess you're ready to go ahead to the fifth public hearing item.
Yes. Okay, so let me, where are we? Hang on a minute. Find my place. Okay, so the fifth and final hearing tonight is Business Park Realty LLC, in care of Al Secondino, applicant and owner, 31 to 33 Business Park Drive, special exception, building addition and parking modification. I believe the applicant is here, and if you'd like to begin, please do so.
Jim Preddy, Criscolo Engineering. I'm representing Business Park Realty LLC. Al Secondino, one of the owners of the LLC, is also on here as well. I'm going to present what I hope is a very simple application. Hopefully you can see. So this is a survey of the properties at Business Park Drive. There's obviously various buildings. They are broken up into a couple lots. This is the area here, which was originally 7A and 7B. So here's 7A and 7B. This is the site plan from when that was approved from when the buildings were built back in the 80s. This plan is dated 85. Most notably, to orient yourself, there's the gym and the dispensary out here. The All Pets Club is on the other side of the road. This building has West Marine and somewhere in the middle of it. What they would like to do is construct a single-story addition for warehouse use in between these buildings, basically cut out some existing pavement area and construct a building that will connect the two buildings again for warehouse use. We have, we have done an existing survey of what exists there now for parking and landscape areas. This is the area that we are adding the building here. It would connect the building and allow Evotech, which is the tenant that's over here, this additional warehouse space. The architecture will match the existing building. This is the floor plan of the addition. This is the front and rear elevations of the building. There's some recessed bands of color, insulated precast panels. And I'll show you some pictures so you understand how that relates. We have, surveyed the existing parking spaces. This was originally approved for, I think it's 297 spaces. Since it's been built, this place has never been fully occupied, parking wise. We are proposing to reduce the number of parking to 227, which quite honestly, we feel by the number of people there are still quite heavy, but if you go through your regulations, total it would need 313, which is just far more than has ever been needed here. And the addition of this warehouse space, I mean, we've been down this road before in town here. Warehouses generally only have a few people working in them. They never have the numbers that the parking count per the regulations need. So one of the reasons we're here for a special exception is the regs allow for the commission to modify the parking requirements or reduce, but it's through the special exception process. There will be a little area in front of the building cut out to put some building plantings along this front face. I have pictures here. Hold on. So this is looking across the street at the space in between. So this is why I say the accent band and the textured metal concrete panels. So the addition will match the two buildings, and it'll go across in the back here. This is that same space. We just kind of moved over to get away from the tree in the view. Again, that same space, it's the tree in the entry. You can see the existing landscaping on both of these buildings that's there now. I am going to go back to the site plan. There is existing access way around the entire building, so interrupting this here will not impede emergency vehicles in any way. They will still have access to all sides of the building, and other vehicles for that matter. This area has typically been a loading area, which has always had very limited parking use. Anyway, there's a number of overhead doors in here, so it really doesn't interrupt anything site-wise. There are some utilities and drainage that will have to get continued through the building, that will need to get and some things that will need to get relocated, but that's all in the details. And I think that's it in a nutshell. I did see the staff report. I didn't see anything significant. There was a mention about a stockpile. We didn't show a stockpile. I mean, there are functioning businesses in these buildings now, so the material removed for the foundation will be probably most likely put in the trucks and removed from the site as needed. And the catch basin will add to the plan the notation to put the silt sacks in the catch basins during construction. But other than that, I guess I could take questions from the commission.
Jim, is that it?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. Is there anybody else on your team that wants to speak?
I don't know, Al. Anything you want to add?
He needs to be unmuted.
Yeah.
Harry Smith, Town Planner. Al, I did make you a co-host. Should be able to unmute yourself, I believe.
Thanks, Eric.
Okay,
Al Secondino, Business Park Realty. The purpose of the addition is to accommodate a partnership with another drug manufacturer. It is the third largest drug manufacturer in the United States, and they've partnered with the Evotech company who's in the building now. The primary function is storage of cell cultures and other pharmaceutical materials and equipment. Very important that it get done. I believe that partnership will not take place if we can't get the addition done. The intention is to build it to try and match the other building as close as possible. We suggested precast concrete in lieu of the split rib block that's on the buildings now, as the manufacturers that originally made the block for both buildings are not sure that they can match the colors correctly. So our architects felt that the best thing to do was to not try to match it exactly, or otherwise it'll look like a mistake. And that's essentially the scope of work.
Thank you, Mr. Secondino.
The only thing I'll add is that this addition doesn't change anything bulk standard wise, with the exception of building lot coverage, which we did get a variance for last month at Zoning Board of Appeals, and we did get a letter from wetlands, because there is just off the property here, there's a drainage ditch, or just off the side here, but they decided that it's not significant to any wetland areas here, what we're doing. So they don't need an application from us.
Okay. Jim, you okay with your time? Because if not, well, I'll ask Harry to, I'm not sure it's Harry or Evan who did the report, but I'm going to ask for staff report.
I'm good.
This time. Harry, is it you or Evan that did the?
It's actually Evan. Yeah.
Is he around? Yeah, here he is.
Thanks, Fred. Like Mr. Preddy had described for us, they're proposing an addition between the two existing buildings. The establishment of a warehouse use requires a special exception, and a modification of the parking requirement requires an additional special exception. They meet the bulk standards of the IG2 district, with the exception of lot coverage, which they received a variance for earlier this month. As I said, they're requesting a modification of the parking requirements per section 6.5I, and the site has historically accommodated uses that do not comply with the current parking standards without creating a risk to public health. The collection of uses on the site require 313 spaces. The applicant is providing 227. No lighting was noted on the submitted plans, but a condition has been added that would require compliance with section 6.7. Mr. Preddy had commented on the requested site plan changes in my staff report. And I think that's fine that there's no stockpile added. I can remove that from the conditions. Application was referred to the Inland Wetlands Department and no permit is required. And based on the application materials, the special exception criteria is satisfied. Staff recommends one finding, that the modification of the parking requirements per section 6.5I1 to the 227 spaces proposed is warranted, as the site has historically accommodated uses that do not comply with current parking standards without creating a risk to public health and safety. Staff also recommends 5 conditions. Number 1 is that prior to the issuance of a zoning permit or a building permit, the site plan shall be revised to show erosion control measures around the drainage basins closest to the proposed activity. These erosion controls shall be installed and maintained throughout construction to the satisfaction of the zoning enforcement officer. The manufacturer's recommended requirements and schedule for cleaning and maintenance of the stormwater management system shall be followed. Condition number 4, all landscaping must be maintained as an ongoing requirement of this approval. And finally, all lighting has to be compliant with section 6.7.
That it, Evan?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Harry, go ahead.
Harry Smith, town planner. Along the lines of the drainage system, I just note that the piping or part of the drainage pipe that goes through the parking lot will be covered by the addition. And in other developments where they're older storm drain systems, the commission has put a condition on it, basically something along the lines of the existing drainage line would be camera inspected as may be requested by the town engineer, and any needed maintenance completed to his satisfaction, something like that. Let's say maybe the existing drainage line under the proposed addition. I don't know if you're you considering replacing that just because? Put a new line on it so you don't have to think about it or worry about it for a longer period of time, or you looked at it, looks adequate, or what?
Jim Pretty again. Al, do you think you would replace the section under the building with PVC or something during the construction?
We would inspect it ourselves. We have our own cameras, and I'll take a look at it. It's precast concrete throughout,
okay.
But we'll check it, make sure that it is.
Okay. Would you have any problem having a condition on it that the camera inspection just be given to the town engineer and take a look at it, and if they think there's any need for repairs or whatever?
But happy to do so.
Okay, great. So I'd suggest maybe adding that condition. Commission wants to approve the application.
Okay, Harry, if there's nothing more to be added, I'm going to ask, are there any commissioners who have commentary? Any commissioners that would like to add to this discussion? Okay, there's none. So, public commentary. Is anybody here from the public that wants to make a comment? Evan, you see anybody? Harry, you see anybody? I don't see anybody off.
Mr. Maresca has his hand up.
Okay, let's get Mr. Maresca on.
Hi, Perry Maresca, Branford's Economic and Business Development Manager. I just want to say that this is very important. It's not a big ask to reduce a few of the parking spaces. I used to have a business right down the street, would drive by all these buildings more than once during the course of every day, pretty much 7 days a week. There was never, ever too many cars for the area in these buildings. So I don't see that as being an issue at all. In addition to that, we've got agencies such as Advanced CT and others that are constantly refer Branford in this area for all the biotech, life science type of businesses. This is very important for the structure of our town and the reputation of our town. So I really strongly feel on behalf of the town and the Economic Development Commission that this is something that would definitely be a benefit to accept. Thank you.
Thank you, Perry. I think, what do we have? Oh, if the applicant wants to have any final comments, Jim, you have any?
No, Jim Pretty again. I think we're all set, Fred.
Secondino's okay? Secondino, you okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. So then we'll close this hearing. Harry, correct? We'll close the hearing out. And that is actually the end of our hearings for this evening. And we will take up some of these later on, some, to be voted on. There may be some that will be continued, as we've heard, and others that will be voted on. So the next thing we're going to do would be the approval of the minutes, I believe. So we have meeting minutes that are dated July 6, 2023 to be approved. And I asked our commissioners, are there any objections or questions to approving the minutes of July 6, 2023? If there are no objections, I would ask someone to make a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved, Chadwick.
Joe Chadwick makes the motion. Do we have a second? We have a second on that motion?
Second, Vayuso.
Okay, Joe Vayuso seconds it. And we'll do the roll call. Joe Vayuso, how do you vote?
Approve.
Approved. Joe Chadwick?
Chadwick in the affirmative.
Marcy?
I abstained. I was absent.
Okay. Massimo Ligori?
I approve.
And Fred Russo, he also approves. So the minutes have been approved from the July 6th meeting. Let's see. Where are we now? So now we can actually deliberate on the hearings that we had. So Harry, let's start at the beginning of the list, I guess, with the Joseph Tamaro application.
Yeah, that one, Harry Smith Town Planner, was continued to the 27th.
Okay,
so the public hearing's still open. The next one was already continued to September 7th.
Right.
That's the landscaping.
Yeah.
And then we have the subdivision, which was continued also to the 27th.
Yeah.
So I think we're down to the application for fire headquarters at 3949 North Main Street.
Okay.
3 special exceptions.
Okay, so I guess I would just poll informally our commissioners. Are we ready to take a vote? Is there anybody that objects to taking a vote on this? I'm not seeing anybody objecting, so is there anybody that will make a motion to accept?
Mr. Chairman, do you want me to put the proposed finding additions up and just
Absolutely.
walk through those quickly? Okay.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea, Harry.
I think I covered them a little bit, but just to refresh everyone's memory.
No problem.
So you should be able to see a finding basically saying the commission finds appropriate conditions modifications, that the criteria of section 9.8 respect to special exceptions are addressed for the 3 special exceptions. And condition 1, again, stamp seal drawings, relocating the bike rack, submitting documentation about the light level that's going to be given by those soffits underneath the canopy. Try and bring that down to the minimum consistent with safe use of the facility. And then there's this optional condition 1D. You may want to discuss whether you want to do that or not, about a little bit of more landscaping behind the fueling facility itself. These 2 are standard conditions. And then this last one about trying to limit the lighting with motion detector as much as can be done, consistent with any other requirements for the facility, codes, regulations, that kind of thing. So that's it.
All right, so what I'm again going to ask is there a commissioner or commissioners who is not prepared to take a vote tonight based on the application and the conditions and findings? I don't hear of any objections, so I'm going to ask for someone to make a motion to approve this application as been displayed, read, and presented. Do I have a motion to accept this application?
Chadwick will make that motion.
Joe makes the motion. Is there a second?
Massimo Lugori, seconds.
Okay, we have a second by Massimo. And we will go through the roll call. Joe Vayuzo.
Joe Vayuso approves.
Joe Chadwick.
Chadwick in the affirmative.
Marcy.
Marcy's in favor.
Massimo.
Massimo's in favor.
Fred Russo. I'm in favor. So it's passed.
And Harry Smith, Town Planner, just to be clear, that's with everything that was displayed on the screen, the red, the italics, the whole thing, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, I guess the only other one we have to take up is the Business Park Realty application. And so, again, I will ask our commissioners, does anybody have any comments that they want to make after hearing all the testimony about this proposal? Here are our findings, our conditions are listed on our screen. My personal opinion was I think it's a pretty cut and dry application. It doesn't look like it requires, a lot of deep thought to this one. The only thing I would be concerned about is that drain, but Mr. Secondino has the equipment to inspect the pipe. It's to his benefit to do so. And our town engineer says that it's acceptable. And then I think we should move forward with a vote. Anybody have any objections not to bring this to a vote? Okay, then we'll bring it to a vote. Will someone make the motion to accept this application with all conditions and findings at this time?
Vayuso moves to approve.
Approved by Joe. Second? we have a second on it?
Chadwick, second.
Joe Chadwick seconds it. Okay. Let's do the roll call. Joe Vayuzo.
Vayuso approves.
Joe approves. Joe Chadwick.
Chadwick in the affirmative.
Joe approves. Marcy Paluzzi.
Marcy's in favor.
Very good, Massimo Ligori.
Massimo Ligori approves.
And Fred Russo, we approve. So it's passed. Congratulations. Harry, I think next we're down to correspondence.
Thank you, Harry Smith, Town Planner. And just maybe note for the record that Massimo Ligori is sitting in for Chuck Andres.
Yes.
And in terms of correspondence, I think we have nothing new. The only thing in the folder is information on cell tower that we talked about at the last meeting. So we're all set there. So I guess we're down to
old business.
Old business.
Well, that's your department.
Yeah. We have the first three items are already set for a public hearing in September 7th meeting. Number 4 at 67 North Branford Road is set for a public hearing on the 27th next week. The last application was special exception for multi-tenant signage program. We have not determined a public hearing date yet. Likely will be September 7th. Then we have a new business item that we did not get to, which is 9 Elm Street, a new application. Again, probably going to set a public hearing either first or second meeting in September. We've taken it up and already voted on new business item 2 that was added to the agenda.
Yep.
So down to other business. Number 1, I guess. Does it sound right where we are?
Yeah.
Okay.
You there? So what is our other business, if there is any?
We do have Chief Mahoney still on the call here. I will, you should have in your packet a letter from James Cosgrove, the first selectman, which I can put up on the screen, as well as a letter from Robert Massey, the chairman of the Board of Fire Commissioners. But maybe just want to start with Chief Mahoney and you can explain the proposal.
Let's unmute him. That's it.
Okay.
Chief Mahoney, it's all yours.
Fred, Tom Mahoney, Fire Chief. So we had identified a town-owned property that had been previously an industrial building that had some remediation issues. They had gone bankrupt. The town took it in a tax foreclosure. And we have long looked for a property to house a fire station on the east side of town. And having remembered this property, I looked into it a little bit more and found out that the town did in fact own it. It was taken in a tax foreclosure. The remediation was complete. It has a clean bill of health from the DEP. So we had the, knowing that, we had the one of the assistant town engineers, Kevin, do a kind of a preliminary sketch of the property to using the similar plans to the Indian Neck Fire Station, only this building would be slightly larger to accommodate actually 2 engines back to back and some other slightly larger first floor, so for some spaces that we couldn't accommodate on the Indian Neck property. So the Indian Neck property was half acre. This is an acre and a half. We were able to fit the proposed, conceptual site plan on the property well within the setbacks, out of the wetlands, et cetera. And so what we wanted to do is it was going to be put back onto the town was going to divest the property and get it back on the tax rolls because they didn't at the time have a use for it. So once we've identified the use, we asked the town vote to at least earmark the property for a fire station. It doesn't in any way tie anybody's hands until there's no appropriation. It's just more of a formality at this time, so they don't divest of the property. And Jamie thought it would be a good idea to do the 824 referral now, since it will be before the RTM.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So I guess, Harry, if I'm correct, we should take this up as we just did the other one for the other the 824 referral. So we should take a vote on it.
Yep. And Harry Smith, Town Planner, I just note that basically the same section of the Plan of Conservation Development, even more on point, the statement in section 13.3 about evaluating the functionality and adequacy of outlying fire stations given sea level rise, extreme weather, configuration of roadway network, and other challenges. And it's sort of spot on to what is being proposed here, and seems to speak to endorsing this as a proposal.
Chief, Fred Russo, I have one question. Has the property been remediated, or is that something that you in the town have to still do? Because you said the previous owner went bankrupt. I was just wondering.
Yeah, so the town undertook the remediation, and my understanding is that the town did receive the clean approval from the DEEP.
Good.
For property. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's just I just hope that the property had been remediated before any plans were made to build something on it. But okay, thank you very much. So I'm going to poll the commissioners to give a favorable approval for this 824 referral, and if anybody feels differently, I'd ask them to make their comments known. If not, then I'm going to ask someone to make a motion to favorably accept this 824 referral. So is there anybody that will make a motion to favorably accept the 824 referral?
Move to
Chad?
approve.
How about Joe Vayuzo?
Sorry.
That's okay, Joe. I think we're going to put you in for that. And who seconded it? Or who was the second person? Was Joe Vayuzo?
Yeah.
Joe Vayuso was first. I came in slightly after, so I get my second.
Well, that's not a horse race. We're okay. So let's make Joe make a motion. And
as a company tool, I'm second to none.
It's okay. It's getting late.
Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, so this would be a motion to send a positive report back to the first selectman? Okay,
correct.
Thank you.
And then I'm going to do a roll call to make sure that it's legit. So Joe Vayuzo.
Joe Vayuso approves.
Good. Joe Chadwick.
Chadwick in the affirmative.
Marcy.
Marcy's in favor.
Massimo.
Massimo's in favor.
Fred Russo's in favor, so it's that's an approval of the 824 referral. We're good. It's good. Okay, so now where are we? Planners report. Oh, how about other business, Harry? Can we talk about that?
Yes. Again, Harry Smith, Town Planner. The next item is financial guarantee establishment for 1819 Etzel. This, I believe, is soil and erosion control financial guarantee, aka a bond. This is for silt fencing and tracking pad. I have a memorandum from Janice Ellis, the zoning enforcement officer, recommending the commission approve a financial guarantee in the amount of $10,000 for erosion control requirements.
Okay, well then I'm gonna bring it to a vote. Ask someone to make a motion to accept the bond establishment at 1819 Etzel Road. Is there anybody that will make that motion?
Marcy will make that motion.
Marcy makes the motion. Do we have a second?
Chadwick will second.
So Chadwick seconds it. Okay, Joe Vayuzo.
Joe Vayuso approves.
Joe Chadwick.
Chadwick in favor.
Marcy.
Marcy's in favor.
Massimo.
Massimo's in favor.
Fred Russo's in favor, so we'll pass that along with a positive referral. Let's see, what else is left? Planners report?
One more thing, we have another financial guarantee or bond for 175 Cherry Hill Road, which is a subdivision. So this is a much larger financial guarantee. And I'll just quickly, I put together a quick memo, just to sort of run you through the process. And I'll just go through that if you're okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely. We're not aware of it yet, so.
Yeah. So you may recall the subdivision of this property for, I believe it's 12 lots is approved. This is between the end of Cherry Hill Road and
Autumn Ridge.
Thank you, Autumn Ridge. Always think it's another season up there. I don't know why. So this was given final approval subject to a financial guarantee or bond being provided to ensure completion of street improvements, public utilities, other requirements. And that would need to be in place before they can record the record subdivision plan, which needs to be done to finalize the subdivision legally. So they have 90 days from the date of, I believe, when the notice of the approval went in the paper. And I think we talked about and approved an extra 90 days. So they're on their second 90 days already, or just about on it. So per this section of the subdivision regulations, and I provided that just so everyone has it here, this is the signature block that's already on the plan. So in order to the chair of the commission to sign this, the financial guarantee needs to be provided. And the regulations, I don't know why this is upside down. Let's see if I can flip that around here. Okay, well, extra challenge. So this is the section of the regulations requires that an estimate be provided by the subdivider's engineer. That has been done. This has been submitted for review and comment by the town engineer. And we have attached here, again, this is upside down. I apologize. So I'm going to need to flip all this. So let me get this up there and give this a right turn.
There you go.
So this is the spreadsheet of the estimate. And what goes into this is a lot of itemized, all the different things that need to be done. If there are quantities, they're specified. The unit cost each is provided. And then the total for that particular item here. This is broken out into two different bonds. The planning and zoning bond for the subdivision is everything within the property that's being subdivided. And then you may recall there's some improvements off of that property. So on Cherry Hill Road, there's going to be some work done in the right of way. Up on Autumn Ridge, there's the need to also do some work. So that little stub area between the two existing house lots in Autumn Ridge where the road is going to come in. That's actually part of the town right of way already. So the work in there will be part of the engineering bond that are required for the applicant to work inside the town right of way. You can see the proposed bond for planning and zoning is $812,030.33. It's a lot larger than the amount of the bond for the work inside the existing right of way. The only thing I'll mention, I'll go back to my quick report here. I'll need to flip around. So this section of the regulations, there are three formats that the bond can be in. And if it's in something that needs to be renewed, again, we'll have to flip that page. So I apologize for that again. So right here, you're going to have three possibilities. You're going to have a savings account, money market account, or certificates of deposit, which is basically cash. Need to be federally insured for the full amount of the deposit, and the town of Branford needs to have sole authority to withdraw the funds. Or it can be, frankly, just a check from a financial institution approved by town of Branford, payable to the town. It can also be in the form of irrevocable letter of credit, and there's a sample letter in the regs. And, the issuing institution needs to be authorized to Business Connecticut. name the town as sole beneficiary. If it's option 3 here, then which would have an expiration date, then all these provisions would apply, and there's a couple of provisions that would need to be in the letter of credit, so that would need to be addressed. A surety bond is not provided for, so that guarantee cannot take the form of a surety bond. So essentially that's it. So what you'd be asked to do here is to approve the establishment of a financial guarantee for the subdivision in the amount of $812,030.33 based on the finalized itemized estimate, revised and approved by the town engineer, and would further state that we need to be provided one of the 3 formats authorized in that section of the subdivision regulations, and if applicable, include the provisions required by section 6.02C5, which is those.
Harry, Fred Russo, for clarity, no money has been transacted at this point, correct? All we're going to do—
That is correct.
—is vote on that it's an acceptable number?
Yes, exactly right.
Okay, so
so it's basically parroting this back. I believe a representative of Giuliano Associates, the engineering firm for the subdivider, is on the call. There's really typically nobody speaks on this. It's basically an estimate provided to staff. Staff reviews it, recommends approval or not. In this case, town engineering department has recommended approval. They've tweaked the estimate a little bit, added a couple items, and I believe the applicant's engineer, Giuliano Associates, has agreed to the final amount. So I'll just scroll down here and see. We do have Christopher Giuliano there. He's giving me a thumbs up. Do you want to speak at all, or are you just fine? Nope, he's set. Okay, so we'll just move on. So you have the recommendation here, and I'll stop there.
Okay, so then I'm gonna again poll the commissioners, and after looking at the subdivision tenants that we see in front of us, would there be someone like to make a motion to accept the bond report that we just read and looked at? Is someone will make that motion?
Marcy will make that motion.
Marcy made the motion. Is there anybody to second that motion?
Chadwick seconds.
And Joe Chadwick seconded. Okay, so let's find out who's going to vote. Joe Ayuso.
Ayuso approves.
Joe Chadwick.
Chadwick approves.
Marcy Pelosi.
Marcy approves.
Massimo Ligori.
Massimo approves.
Fred Russo approves. So that's
Okay, and just again, Harry Smith Town Planner, just for clarity, so that was to establish the bond and the amount, $812,030.33, with all the verbiage in bold in this memo dated July 20th from myself to the commission.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you so much.
So we're down to two things. One is a planner's report.
That's it. As we've kind of gone through, so we're now going to have a full special meeting next week. We have, I think we're all set with the applications that will be continuing on in September. We either got time extensions or they have enough time in them to continue over. We'll be working on the landscaping application with the applicant over the summer for some of the feedback we got from Commissioner Chadwick, and probably looking at trying to develop an issue list, at least, of some more I would call housekeeping changes to zoning regulations, and possibly into section 6.8. There have been several issues with the applicability of section 6.8, sort of overlap with some review by inland wetlands, particularly with applications that are within the upland review area of an inland wetland. So we're going to look at trying to streamline that somewhat. And we've had issues with rock slopes, for example, in Sterling Ridge, there was a proposed rock slope behind. When they started getting into it, they realized that it was not going to be stable, had to replace it with a retaining wall. My personal take on it would be I don't really see the need for that, because I think it's very difficult to get sufficient information geotechnically to make sure that once you start excavating, you're going to get a solid rock wall as an end result. What can happen is what's happened behind all these, frankly, is we have a wall, and I have not been able to get an engineer to certify that. So that's sort of hanging out there. Whether they'll need to address that some other way, I don't know. But so the alternative is to have a retaining wall. So anyway, we'll look at some of those issues. We'll probably bring them to you as a list rather than proposed text changes. And maybe we'll look at some meeting, whether we do it as a special meeting or something sometime in September. We get back and talk about that the first meeting in September, or the commission wants to proceed.
Okay. Anything else, Harry?
There are, of course, more projects in the wings, and nothing other than what you see on the agenda has been applied for yet. But there are other things out there that keep us busy in the fall, of course.
Okay. Well, for the good of the commission, is there anybody that wants to make a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Joe Chadwick approves the motion. Is there a second?
Second by Marcy.
Marcy seconds it. And we'll make a roll call. Joe Vayuza.
Joe Vayuza approves.
Joe Chadwick.
Chadwick is in favor.
Marcy Paluzzi.
Marcy's in favor.
Massimo Ligori.
Massimo's in favor.
Fred Russo's in favor. Thank you, everybody, for your patience and your patience. I appreciate it. It's not an easy job. It's much more difficult than it looks. I want to say thank you to Harry and to Evan for being very, very supportive. So thank you all, and we'll meet again next week.
Yep.
Like always, it's a pleasure, guys.
Yep.
Great job,
Mr.
Fred.
Chairman. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you next week.
Good night.
Recording. This program was brought to you in part through the support of the Town of Branford. Watch town meetings and other videos on demand at BranfordTV.org.